Never done this before on YouTube, so y'all are gonna have to help me out because it is my first time, but I am very excited. Let's see, what can I do? Oh, I can change my appearance. That's cool. That's one thing. I can view the chat. Amazing. What else can I do? I can save a highlight. Okay, it'll make a highlight of its own. That is great. Let's post about this on the social media so people know what's happening. Ahoy! Hi everyone. This is literally my first time going live on YouTube, so hello. Welcome. Let's see. How do I... This is so bad. Oh, okay, it says I'm live on my own channel, which is great. Let's do a little swipe up thing on Instagram. That's so weird. I can see my eyes down there. Anyway, how is everybody? How is life? Tell me what city you're tuning in from. I am currently in Mumbai. Whatever me says, tell my name. I don't know what your name is though. It says whatever me. Mukran says, how is your lockdown? Anything interesting? I guess kind of. So I don't know if y'all can see, but this tooth here is a fake tooth actually. And when I was really little, I chipped it when I fell. And so I got this crown put in, and now it's been 5 years, and so I have to get it replaced. So that's literally the most exciting thing happening to me right now. But yes. We have people from Bhubaneswar, Chandigarh, where else? I'm in Mumbai right now. We have Bangalore, Aligarh, Jodhpur, Bhilwara. I was talking to somebody yesterday who's from Bhilwara. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm very excited. Okay, so let's just post on Instagram that we're going live. And meanwhile, I just wanted to firstly thank all of you for being part of this community. I'm sending you all so much love. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for just being here and supporting. And as promised, a lot of you had wanted me to do a live to talk about college and, you know, studying abroad, education, and just like life as well. But I'm going to prioritize a little bit about that today. So if you have any questions, please write them in the chat and I will definitely answer them. And thank you for... Okay, so let's see the first one. Hey Vante, it would be great help if you can share the procedure of getting into Harvard when it comes to MS or MD after completing MBBS from India. Okay, yes. I've gotten so many questions about this. Now, two things. Medicine and law are both post-grad degrees in the US instead of undergrad degrees. So when you apply, you cannot apply directly after high school like you can here. When you're in India, you take the NEET if you want to go to medical school, or if you take the CLAT if you want to go to law school, but that's not a thing in the US. In the US, you have to do a 4-year or 3 or 4-year undergrad before doing that. So it is not possible to go there directly for undergrad, but it is possible to go after you do your MBBS here. I mean, you can also do an undergrad in the US or anywhere else and then apply to medical school in the US, but if you're somebody who wants to practice in India, my personal recommendation would be to do an MBBS and then apply. And to do that, you have to take this exam called the USMLE, and upon completing that, you have the opportunity to kind of take your credentials and move. So that's basically what it is. Feel free to ask me. Okay, let's see what else. Are you in USA? Hina says. I'm not. I'm currently in Mumbai, in Bombay, and at some point I'll go back to the US, but probably not for a while because of Corona. Subhashri says, what was your major? Also, if I'm messing up anybody's names, please tell me because I want to make sure I pronounce them well. Subhashri says, what was your major? I studied psychology, was my major, and my minor was in global health and health policy. Aman Agarwal says, how to get 100% scholarship for studying abroad. So let me just explain a couple things with the scholarship. There's two types of scholarships broadly. One is a financial-based one and the other is a merit-based one. The financial-based one, a lot of top schools in the US provide. So if you were to apply to Harvard, for example, if you get in, they match your need based on your family income. So that's financially based. There are other colleges, many of the top 50 colleges provide that, but many of them take it into account during the application process as well. Whereas a merit scholarship is based on pure merit. The unfortunate thing is that because many of them are related to governmental grants, a lot of international students or Indian students aren't eligible for them when it comes to the merit scholarships. And at top schools, they don't give you any merit scholarships because most people applying to these top schools have, merit. So that's basically the reason. But okay, let's answer other questions. I will be making a video on scholarships soon, and I'll be interviewing 2 friends of mine who got 50% and 100% scholarships. So you'll understand the difference between the two and all the processes, the forms you have to fill and everything. It's coming very soon. Let's see, what is next? Wow, there's a lot of questions. Thank you all for sending them in. Wow, okay, I have to go all the way up to get them. How many hours do I practice in a day? I keep my voice trained, so at bare minimum is half an hour, but I'm singing or doing something with my voice at least 5 or 6 hours a day now at the current moment. Okay, let's see. I don't know if there's any way for me to like paint a question so y'all can see what I'm answering at the same time. If anyone knows, please let me know. What were the extracurriculars you did back in school? Extracurricular video is coming out on Monday. So please watch that. I put a bunch of effort into that. I hope you enjoy it, and let me know if you have any questions after that, because it's much easier to explain through that form. My guide for class 10th guide about ECs. Just briefly, you will see it all in the video, but briefly, the point of extracurriculars, why US colleges ask for them, is not to kind of game the system. They don't care, and I mean this genuinely, they do not care about what you do. So don't think that you have to, be a national Olympiad rank holder, or that you have to be a professional musician or whatever. They don't care about what you do, but they care about why you are doing what you do, because the point of the extracurriculars is to show them that you are an interesting person and to show them that you have passions beyond just your studies. So that's the reasoning. Wow, okay, there's a lot of questions. I'm gonna go higher. Will you recommend to drop 1 year after 12th and then prepare for SAT and apply? So if you want to take a gap year, I would highly recommend it depending on your situation. So if you're somebody who feels like your application is not ready and a year would benefit you in being ready, then definitely. But if you're doing it just because you want a little bit of extra time, it just depends. Basically, if you don't use that year meaningfully, then it's going to look bad against you. But if you use it meaningfully, meaning don't use the year only just to prepare for an exam, because that's not considered meaningful. But if you use it to work on, something you've always wanted to work on and do a bunch of different things, then it will make a huge difference. I also see a lot of questions asking for y'all to meet my mom. Yes, you will meet her very soon. I've convinced her to record something with me this week, which will hopefully go up in a few weeks. And can't wait for you to meet her. She's just been very busy with some work stuff, so I've not been able to shoot with her. Someone is asking, is it easier to get into colleges abroad if you're a US citizen? Yes and no. It is easier to get financial aid because you are eligible to get it from US governmental sources, but in terms of getting in, not necessarily, because what they use as your framework is where you went to high school if you're applying for the undergrad, or where you went to college if you're applying for the master's. So even though I'm a US citizen, for example, but I did my middle and high school in India, so I was considered an international student. Let's see. I'm currently in 9th grade. Okay, all of these, wow. Thank you for all the questions. Let us see. Sorry, I'm really trying to answer as many of them as possible. Okay, questions about Ielts and Toefl. So unfortunately, even if you go to an English medium school, you have to take them because it's the only way for the colleges to understand what the level of English is. The only way you can get exempt from taking it is if you've taken a substantially high level of English. For example, if you've taken AP English, or if you've taken, IB, HL English or something like that. That's the only way you can get out of it. But otherwise, even if you've gone to an English medium school, you have to take the Toefl, unfortunately. Let's see. When do you apply for university? Okay, this has been a really commonly asked question. So most students who are applying for their undergrad apply for university toward the end of their 12th standard. So that's anywhere between October and January of the year of their 12th. So for most schools, the early deadline is in November and the regular deadline is in January. So you do actually apply before you do your board exams. That doesn't mean that your board exams aren't important. They actually still are, because let's say you get into a college but then you fail your boards, the colleges will find out, and sometimes colleges do rescind your application, but it doesn't matter as much, if that makes sense. Okay. Someone's saying, I'm currently in 9th grade. My ambitions is to become an entrepreneur. That's great. What are the exams that you suggest I attend, and what undergrad and masters I choose in order to get into Ivy Leagues? Wow, okay. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't necessarily need, your educational path is important, but that doesn't determine everything in life. So I wouldn't think about, at 9th grade what you should be doing for your master's, but I would think about, what do you care about in life and how can you meaningfully impact that? And if you think that studying abroad will give you the tools that you don't get right now, that's great. So then you'll have that opportunity, but don't do it just for the sake of doing it. Okay. Let's see. Subjects required in Harvard to become a neurologist. So if you want to be a neurologist at the master's level, then you have to have a baseline degree, preferably in psychology as a bachelor's degree, but not necessary. It's just important that you show that you have a research interest. The difference, I've had a lot of questions from y'all about masters. The difference between masters and undergrad applications for the US is primarily that the masters is very narrowly focused. So they care a lot about the specific subject, whereas for the undergrad, they care more about your general interests and you as a human, and less about the subject. I graduated from high school this year, but I haven't taken the SATs yet. Should I consider applying now? Apply if you really want to, and remember that the application is super holistic, so it's not just about the SATs. This year, many questions about this as well. The SAT has become optional. So you don't have to take it, and it's become optional because it's not as accessible because of Corona, but that may not be the case for next year, so definitely keep that in the back of your mind. Let's see. Oh, Parithi, thank you. That's really sweet of you. Keisha is saying, I'm an IB. Can I give IIT or should I consider the Ivy League colleges? Totally up to you. I mean, if you're somebody who thinks that you want to do your base level engineering here and then apply abroad, or you just want to stay here through, it's totally up to you. I have friends who did IB, Icsc, anything. They did the IIT engineering path. Some of them went abroad, some of them didn't. So it's really up to you. Because you are in the IB system, your school is naturally geared a little bit more toward international applications, but honestly, it's totally dependent on you. Let's see. IIT Madras recently launched an online BSc degree in programming and data science. Do you think the US universities will give value to such a degree? Yes, definitely. Depends on your goals. I mean, I think a lot of people think of the educational milestones as, will they value this? It's important to understand what they value in you as an applicant, but not necessarily the degree. What's important to value in the degree is how you think that'll help you with your future goals. So if you're thinking of doing a master's, how is that going to help you in your future goals? Also, I see a super chat. Oh, that's hilarious. There's a super chat from Vivek who says, do you recommend taking a gap year? Yes, I do, depending on the situation. We answered this question a little bit earlier as well. I actually took a gap year, for those of you who don't know, but after I'd gotten into Harvard, I took a year off because I was doing a lot of professional theater and a bunch of stuff in India. I'll be making a video about that, but it just depends on your goals, honestly. Okay, Deepostri is requesting, can you talk about all the degrees, please? The basic ones, by the way. Could you elaborate on that? What do you mean? Do you want to know the difference between undergrad, masters, etc.? Just let me know. Hey, I want to know about some courses available at Harvard if I opt for the humanities stream in 10+2. So the beautiful thing about a lot of these colleges in the US is that it is what they call liberal arts, which means that you can really do whatever you want. So even if you've taken humanities and you decide that you want to do science or whatever, you can do that. You can there's so many different offerings. Whatever colleges you're interested in, I would suggest you looking at their departmental websites because there's a lot of information there and you can get a sense of what's happening. Okay, Sanjana is saying, do I really need an award on some level to apply to Ivy Leagues? No, you don't. But whatever it is that you do that's not just your studies should be at the highest level available to you with your resources. So let's say you care about video games, for example. What are you doing that's at the highest level in that? I've made a video on that, which is coming out on Monday on Extracurriculars. So I hope that that's helpful. Our online, oh, this is a good question. Are online courses from Coursera or edX considered and given importance? Yes and no. Yes, if you feel like you've learned something from it and are able to apply that to something you care about. For example, let's say you took a course on edX or Coursera on something to do with, I don't know, machine learning, and that's inspired you to start thinking about blockchain or whatever it is. That's great because then you can talk about how that became a source of inspiration. But just doing it to tick a box, saying कि मैंने edX किया है or I've done Coursera, is not as helpful. Like, it's useful for you to train your brain in a different way, but don't do it just because you think it'll look good on your application. Okay, let's see. I have a bachelor's in biotech. Can I do a master's in psychology in the US? Yes, you actually can. While they do prefer students who have a bachelor's in psychology, you can definitely do a master's in whatever you'd like. The thing for the master's that's a little bit different from undergrad is the emphasis on having research or work experience in the thing you care about is really important. So just make sure you do that. Let's see. Hi, I'm a junior in high school in New York. My GPA is 3.7. Is it good enough for the Ivy League? Yes, that's a great GPA. But remember that the GPA is only one part of your application. It is important. I want to stress that it is important to keep your grades up, but grades are just one portion of the application. And I've had a lot of questions about this, which is what is GPA, what is Cgpa, how do I consider that if you are in a different system? So if you are in IB, Icsc, ICSC, any of the Indian systems or other global systems that don't do the 4-point GPA, it is important for you to have your school write up, either in your additional information section or when your counselor sends in a recommendation, the understanding of how your grade profile is done at school. So for example, in my school, we did percentages and we had a decile system, meaning the top 10%, top 20%, top 30%. So it's really understanding what that is and trying to take it from there, basically. So our counselor had done a write-up. So we didn't have to convert that into a GPA. Basically, our counselor did a write-up so that they understood what 95% meant at our school, because 95% at your school might mean something different at another school, if that makes sense. Okay. Is the syllabus of the SAT different from the Indian board syllabus for ICSE? Yes, for English. For math, not really, because I think if you've done math until the 10th grade, you should be pretty solid for the math section of the SAT. But for the English section, you will have to prepare a little bit more for the writing and reading. I actually put up a video today solving SAT questions with y'all. So definitely check that out so you can get a sense of what the questions are like and take a diagnostic test. Somebody saying, do we have to give Toefl and SAT? Yes, I answered this earlier. SAT is optional this year because of Corona. Toefl, I believe they've made optional for some colleges, again because of Corona, but generally speaking, you have to take Toefl if you're an international student and a non-US citizen. Okay, let's see. Harshit is saying, what is the condition of your eyes? Oh, thank you for asking. That means you've heard my essay. That's really kind of you. It's much better. I also, in addition to that eye condition, had glasses for many years and I had a really high number, but I got LASIK a few years ago. The thing with my left eye, which is the eye that was affected, the vision came back progressively, but I still have some issues, so it's always going to be a little bit weaker. And things like at night when there's street lights, all the street lights look like they were basically explosions. I can't see, I can't drive at night essentially, and I can't do certain other activities, but generally I'm fine. That's very kind of you. Thank you for asking. Okay. The right time to take the SAT. I would recommend, if you have the opportunity, to take it earlier rather than later. So if you're able to try to take it in the 10th or 11th standard, you can also take it in the 12th, but it's just more stress-free if you're able to finish it off earlier, because until 10th standard math, you should be totally fine to take it. Do extracurricular activities need proof? Yes, when you're listing something that is related to an organization or, basically when you're listing something that has an affiliation with something, it definitely needs proof, and that proof can come either in the form of certificates that you attach or in the form of recommendations. You can get a recommendation from somebody you did an internship with, for example, or something of that nature. Okay, let's see. Asta says, can I apply for an MBBS in Harvard after the 12th? I answered this earlier, but I'm going to briefly say that again because I've seen a lot of questions about that. No, you can't, because medicine and law are postgraduate degrees in the US, so you need to complete a bachelor's degree before applying, and you can do that either in the US or you can do that even here and then apply. But I would highly recommend, if you're interested in medicine, to finish off your MBBS here and then apply abroad for a fellowship if you want to practice in India. Okay. How to convince parents about studying abroad? It really depends on what your goals are. I think a lot of parents, especially now, are concerned about people studying abroad because of the visa situation, because of Corona. So it's just understanding what your options are. For example, if finances are a barrier, to show them options at colleges where you can get a scholarship. If you want to do something that's very interdisciplinary and you don't have other options in India, show them the fact that you will be widening your job prospects there. Go in, no matter what you, honestly, this is true for anything you want to convince your parents of, at least in my experience. Go in with solid research. Whatever it is you want to convince them of, don't just say, "Mujhe ye karna hai, I want to do this." Go in with actual solid research and a plan of what you want to do. Let's see. Kush says, is low extracurricular equal no admission? Yes and no. Extracurricular doesn't just mean these one-off things that you do. I'm putting a video about this on Monday. I've mentioned that a couple times. But just to explain, the word means extracurricular, which means what do you do extra to your curriculum? What are you doing outside of school? And I can guarantee you, no matter what you do in life, you are definitely doing something outside of school. Let's see. Dhanushri is saying, how to improve as a teenager in academics as well as socially? That's a great question. In terms of academics, I mean, there's a lot of different study strategies and tips. I'll make a video about that if you would like. But it's really just about, pacing yourself and making sure that you are well versed with your curriculum, your syllabus, and trying to practice at regular intervals. In terms of socially, also remember that as crazy as it might feel to be a teenager right now, especially in Corona, everyone is still human and they still want human interaction. So you reaching out to somebody or figuring out something meaningful, it might be playing Among Us with your friends, or it might be just doing a weekly call with somebody, but just trying to navigate and balance that is really important. There's a lot of other social things, but I'll answer that in a separate video. I think that's definitely a longer conversation for another time, but super happy to answer. Let's see. How do you get internships in India? Great question. So depends on, again, at what stage you are at. If you are at the stage of high school and you want to do an internship, my biggest life hack is, no matter what you're doing in life, always ask whoever you want something from for advice. So let's say there's a company you want an internship at. Try to identify the right people who might be interested in supporting you as a high schooler if you're doing it in high school, and ask them for advice, and then see if there's any way that you can do anything with them. If you are somebody who already has a college degree, then there are also avenues and channels through which you can apply, but a lot of it is also building the relationships, building the network, so make sure that you put in the work to do that as well. Can Cbsc people get into Harvard? Yes, you can get into Harvard regardless of your educational board. That's definitely extremely important. How to apply for UCLA through UCEDU website or via Common App? So the UCs don't do the Common App. For those of you who don't know what the UCs are, it's basically UCLA, UC Berkeley, all of these colleges, University of California in California's. And so they have their own application system. Stanford also has its own application system, so does MIT and a few other schools, but most colleges are on the Common App. Let's see. There's a lot of questions about med school. I answered this multiple times, so just go back and watch the live. Kush says, can you read my essay? I would love to try to do that, but I can't do that for everyone yet, unfortunately. I might make that an option. Now that we're at 30K, we can do memberships. Ooh, so I might make that an option for memberships. But I've shared a resource on my essay video called Curricular, which y'all can go check out. They do pretty affordable professional essay reviews and they're awesome. Where do you get the Common App? Literally Google Common App. Just Google Common App, and the first website that shows up is your Common App. Can you please talk about transfers to Ivy Leagues for undergrad? Yes, I'm going to be bringing some people on to talk about that. So it's much easier to transfer from a similar system to a similar system. So if you apply to a US college and then transfer from that college to an Ivy League or wherever, that's much easier than transferring from India, because it's really hard to transfer your credits. That's the main reason, because the educational systems are not the same. The one thing I will be wary of is, with the exception of a place like Harvard and Stanford, it's pretty hard to get financial aid when you transfer, so just remember that. How do you manage studies and extracurriculars together? In the same way as you manage studies and doing anything else in life. Again, extracurricular doesn't mean just an activity. It means stuff that you do that's not studying. And wait for Monday, and hopefully a lot of your questions will be answered. Let's see. Any advice for a 10th grader in terms of academics? Quarantine has made me less motivated to study. I know, I can only imagine. If you're in the 10th grade and if you're in India, chances are you're taking your board exam this year, and I wish you the best of luck. If it would be useful for me to make a video about board exams, I'm super happy to, so just let me know in the comments. But the biggest thing I would say right now, it probably feels so daunting to do your exams in this condition, but just remember what is it that's really motivating you. If you're feeling like you're bored of your subjects, take a little break if possible, and avoid looking at books completely for 2 days and come back to it with a fresh mind. Think about how you can learn some of the kind of strategies toward doing the test, because for the boards it's really a lot about taking the test, and find other balance. I find a lot of students that are in the 10th, all they do is study, and that's also really dangerous because it makes you less productive over time. Find things that are meaningful. Do extracurriculars, do things that add value to your life that is not just studies, and you'll find that you'll be motivated in that area too. Okay, effects of 2 gap years and selection chances. If this is for post-grad, it doesn't matter as much. If it's for undergrad, it could affect you, but if you've been doing something meaningful with your time on your gap years, you should be fine. Is the LOR important? Yes, the letter of recommendation is extremely important. It's one of the most important parts of your application, I would say, actually, because it's one of the only places that the admissions committee can see of somebody vouching for you that's not you yourself, number one, and it's one of the few places they can hear a human voice, because if you think about it, everything else is just a stat on a piece of paper, you know, and so it's one of those few things that they can actually see tangibly and value it. Kush says, I don't have my mid or full year grades. Does it affect my application? No, but whatever your last exam is, they'll need to see that in, so just make sure that that's sent in as a transcript. Can you apply even after 12th boards? Yes, you can, but then you would be considered having taken a gap year before applying, which is fine. Just make sure you do something meaningful with that year. What is the fee structure of Harvard or any of these colleges? Great question. So firstly, the fee amount changes every year, so just go check on the individual websites. But the structure is tuition, room and board. Room means stay, hostel. Board means food. And sometimes these miscellaneous medical expenses, student fees, things like that. Now, at a place like Harvard, your first year, it's mandatory to do room and board, meaning you have to stay on campus, but for future years, it's not. If you're getting financial aid, usually all of that's covered or a part of it is covered, but it just depends on the university. But it's not just your tuition, it's basically your fees involve your tuition, meaning the actual studies, your stay, your food, any other expenses, and books. Is it important to be a part of the school cabinet? No, it's not, but it's important to demonstrate leadership in some way or form. And there's multiple ways to do that. Extracurricular videos coming on Monday. Please watch it and you will see. Teja saying, how are you? Stay safe. Oh, thank you. I'm doing well. I hope you are staying safe also. Sending lots of love. Maida saying, do you have any friends from MIT? Yes, I do. They're awesome. MIT is so close to Harvard, so it was really easy to see. How to get research assistant positions in US universities as a 9th grader. So it's going to be really hard to get a proper research position, but what you can do is, if you're really interested in a professor's work, you can always reach out to them, ask them for their advice, And then also say if there's anything that they're working on once you develop a little bit of a rapport and relationship with them that you would be super interested in, learning from, working with. A lot of it is when you're reaching out to people in positions of power, especially as a student, always frame it as you asking for advice because that goes down so well with them. Okay, let's see. Wow, there's a lot of questions. Thank you so much. I'm going to try to take a few more. How many hours do you need to study every day, and how many hours did I study, and did you get any coaching for getting into college? The amount of hours you should study every day is what is suitable for you. Don't spend your whole day studying because A, that's just not going to be good for you long-term productivity-wise, and B, these colleges value you as a human beyond just studying. They value your extracurriculars and things that you do. I think for my board exams, I definitely, would study a solid 2-3 hours a day before the exams. But I figured out a rhythm for what I needed to try to get good marks for. In terms of coaching, there's no real coaching, but there are college counselors. So I was really lucky because my school had a very good college counselor, so I didn't need to go elsewhere. But there are external college counselors. If anybody's interested, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'm Avanti Nagral, and if I haven't gotten to your DM yet, I'm sorry, I'm just sitting on a backlog. But here are some names in Mumbai that I've heard really good things about. There's the Red Pen, there is Reach IV, and there's OnCourse Global. I've heard really good things about these three, so you can check them out, maybe sign up for a consultation with them. But I don't think that it's necessary to do college counseling. I think that, a lot of solid research on your part will help you as well. But if you are interested, those are 3 options. Okay, let's see. You got 100% scholarship or you worked there. So the scholarships at Harvard are based primarily on financial need, and I'm going to be bringing some people on to talk about it. So my family and I applied for it, but we only qualified for 15%, so we decided not to take it because that would be taking away money from someone who needed 100%. And so, for that extra, I did do some part-time jobs while I was at Harvard, and I quite enjoyed them. I'll share a little bit more about that soon. Are you the first person to do the dual degree from Harvard and the Berkeley College of Music, and how did you manage it? Yes, I am the first person, and it was not easy because it was constantly going back between the 2 schools. Basically, for anybody curious, it's a formal dual degree program between Harvard and the Berkeley College of Music. You get a bachelor's or undergrad degree at Harvard, and you either get a master's or a diploma at Berkeley, and you take classes at both institutions. I really enjoyed my time there. It's not easy to manage, but it's all about, time management. And for me, being a professional musician, it was important for me to have that training also happen alongside. So that's why I did it. And I'll make a video about dual degrees soon as well. Sakiba saying, do some collab videos. Yes, with who would you like me to collaborate with? I will definitely be bringing on people to answer your questions about educational stuff, but for all of the other types of content, I am super down. If you have any collab requests, I can try to make that happen. Sanjana saying, what is a cold email? So cold email basically means when you reach out to somebody, when you email them without them knowing you beforehand. So it's someone whose email address you found off the internet or wherever, and they don't know you before, like you're not in their institution or nobody's introduced you to them. And the reason it's called cold is just because, sometimes it remains unanswered, but it's one of those things where I think it's great practice to cold email people, not just for the sake of it, but, if there's people who are doing things that you're interested in, practice writing emails because that's also a really, really important skill. Swastika is saying, how to stop procrastinating? Oh, I wish everyone knew the answer to that. I think one is really managing your time well. I'll make a video on that soon. But the second is also making sure that you set aside time for things that are really decompressing. I think what we often do is we'll be doing things at once, like we'll be watching something and working, and then you're not really doing either. Make sure you dedicate as much time to watching or enjoyment as you do to working, so then you'll feel like you have that together. But I'll be making a proper video about it, don't worry. Gauri said you promised about making a list of colleges. Yeah, I recommended, so if you're applying to colleges, here's my recommendation on how you structure your college list. Structure it according to 3 buckets. One is your dream schools. So for me, Harvard was a dream school. One is your reach schools, which is schools that have profiles of students similar to you, so you know that they have similar grades to you and similar other backgrounds, and then have what they call safety schools, which just basically means schools which there are students whose the average profile of a student is a little bit their grades are maybe a little bit lower than yours, or you know that it's probably a little bit easier for you to get into, and make sure that you have a solid balance on your list so that you can maximize your chances of getting in somewhere. PUBG says, I love to play, that's a great name, to play guitar. How can I convert that into an extracurricular? You're already doing it. You're playing the guitar. Now the question is, how do you take it to the next level? That only you can answer. Do you play guitar because you want to potentially do it professionally? Start figuring out what that world looks like. Do you play guitar because you want to write songs? Start figuring out what that world looks like. Do you want to teach? Do you do it because you like to compose? You know, there's a lot of different aspects to it. So hopefully the Monday video will answer your questions. Priyancha says, could you collab with an MIT student? Sure, but on what? What would you like me to ask them? Shlagya says, what's your favorite subject? Ooh, I think my favorite subject, I mean, I majored in psychology, so it was one of my favorite, but when I was in high school, I really enjoyed English, biology, and psychology. I would say those were my favorite subjects. Shabnam says, if you want people to answer my questions, which I'd given up, it's okay, I'll ask you on your video. What is the question, Shabnam? Just send it. I'm sorry, there's a lot of questions. I'm trying to take them in. Atul Singh, tell about Singapore university admissions like NUS, NTU. Great question. It's actually pretty similar to Indian admissions in terms of they care about grades a little bit more, but they also care a little bit about extracurriculars. I'll bring somebody on to talk about that soon. Riddhi says, I live in India and my school barely offers any opportunities or EC, so what can I do? Honestly, the best ECs are often ones that are outside of school, because EC means something that you do that's outside of your curriculum. So find things that you can do outside of school. Again, Monday's video will hopefully help. Audience says, can I apply early for both Harvard and MIT? No, you can't. Okay, let me explain this. There are two primary deadlines for applications, the early and the regular. The early deadline is of two types. It's of early action and early decision. Decision means that if you apply there early and you get in, you are locked in. You cannot apply anywhere else. Early action means that if you apply early and you get in, you can apply to other institutions. You have the option. But the difference there is there's two types. There's early action and restrictive early action. Restrictive is at a place like Harvard or Princeton or any of these schools, for example, where if you apply there early, you can't apply anywhere else. MIT actually has unrestricted early action, so you can apply to MIT early, and you can apply to basically like the UCs, some state schools, and any other college that has unrestricted early action. Regular decision is just a regular deadline. Early doesn't necessarily increase your chances. It could, because they just take more students then, you know, in terms of percentage and proportion. But if your application is not ready, it will ruin your chances. So if you feel like you need more time for your application, wait till the regular deadline. Myra says, should I take AP exams as they're really expensive? If your school does not offer APs, don't feel obligated to take them. The colleges will check what your school offers and if you are taking the most rigorous option available to you at your school. Yash is saying, is swimming an extracurricular? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now, if you're trying to be recruited as an athlete, that's a whole different process, and you should look that up. But in general, it definitely is. Someone says, are you using a mic right now? No, I'm not. Does it sound like I'm using a mic? That's great. That means my phone's audio is really good. Nikita is saying, how many universities did you apply to? So my list had 12 universities, which I think is a good number. I had sent in my applications to most of them, but I actually rescinded it after I got into Harvard because, for two reasons. One, I was very, very clear that I wanted to go to Harvard. And there are some people who like to apply to other colleges just to see that they can get in, but I felt like that was unfair because if I did get in, then I would be taking a spot from someone else. So I just rescinded all my apps. But the colleges I was thinking of were basically most of the Ivy Leagues, except for Dartmouth and Cornell, and MIT, Stanford, BU, Wellesley, Northeastern. Oh, what else was on my list? I definitely have it written down somewhere, but some of those colleges. What about UK schools? How do they work? That's a great question. UK school is actually very, very similar to the Indian schools, where the primary thing for admission is your marks. They also have a statement of purpose, and I've explained the difference between statement of purpose and essay in my essays video, so you can check that out, but I'll be doing a US versus UK very soon video. I want to go abroad, which is the best school for a business major? So very few schools offer business at the undergrad level. There's colleges like UPenn or Wharton that does, Emory does. There's a bunch of schools, you can Google it, but if you're applying to any of the top, say, Ivy League schools, they don't, because their philosophy is liberal arts, so they don't offer business at the undergrad. But for grad school, the top business schools are Harvard, Stanford, Northwestern, and a bunch of different ones. Is marching band an EC? Yes, it is. An EC is anything you do that's not studies, basically. You'll see in the Monday video. What is the minimum annual income, including tax, to avail 100% scholarship at Harvard? For that, actually, it would be maximum. I think anybody with less than $60,000 a year, which if I were to convert that into Indian rupees, that's approximately a lakh. Anybody whose family makes less than a lakh a year can qualify for full 100%. Let's see, talk about, can you do a video with your little brother? I would love to. Someone please convince him. I think he's only gonna do a video once I've reached like 50,000 subscribers. So the faster our family grows, the faster you'll be able to see him. Your cherry nut says, how much water have you drank today? If y'all know me, I talk about drinking water and its importance. I've not drank as much water as I should, so thank you. That's a great reminder. My throat's actually feeling a bit dry right now. Let's see. Should I include my job offer from Google in my SOP for Harvard grad school? I'm in my final year undergraduate. Yeah, you can definitely talk about it, but don't just say, oh, I got a Google offer. Talk about why you're bringing it up, and say different things. Raj Lakshmi is saying, please take my name. Hi, Raj Lakshmi. Is it late evening in India right now? Yeah, it is theoretically late evening or night time in India. That's what I would consider it to be. Let's see. How does lying on extracurriculars list work? Are you saying to lie about your extracurriculars? I would definitely not recommend doing that, because they will find out. I mean, you do have to have proof, and you frankly just won't get in. Was I an ED or regular? I was EA, like I explained earlier. Harvard is restrictive early action, and I applied early. Okay. Do AP credits make a difference? I answered this earlier. If your school offers them, definitely take 1 or 2, because there will be other students from your school taking it, so you'll look bad in comparison if you don't. But if your school doesn't offer them, don't worry about it. Okay, I'm just gonna look through this. I do have to run. But I've answered most of your questions, and anything that I feel was very specific, I'll either try to answer in a DM, or there's definitely videos, like there's an extracurricular video coming soon, financial aid coming soon, recommendations. If y'all want other videos, feel free to leave it in the comments on this video so I can send it. Let's see if anyone has any last minute really pressing questions, please ask me. Also, Ross Swim is saying happy Navratri to you too. Anuva saying, how was your high school experience? My high school experience was great. I feel like my high school was pretty competitive, so in that sense it was not as fun, but I made some really nice friends and I really enjoyed it. When is the best time to take AP and SATs? SATs I mentioned earlier, if you can, try taking it in the 10th or 11th standards so you're not stressed. APs, if your school offers it, you can take it in the 11th, 12th, 10th also. Let's see. Susan is saying, Susan or Suzanne, please tell me, how would you try to motivate someone who's afraid of applying due to rejection? I would just say, we all face failures in life. I think one of the biggest things being in the creative world, as an artist, has taught me is that you face rejection on a daily basis, and it's nothing to fear. The more you avoid it, the more of a big deal it becomes. But in the case of rejection, it's not in your control. What is in your control, however, is actually applying, like taking the chance on yourself to take a leap and apply in the case of college, and the amount of work you put in. Everything else is out of your control, but if you know in your heart that you've put in the right work, then you'll feel really good about it, and maybe it wasn't meant to be, but You never want to live a life of regret. So if you feel like you really want to apply, apply, because you never know. Who is this? Anupa saying, who's one teacher you still remember from high school? I went to Cathedral as well. Oh, amazing. I went to Cathedral and John Connon. That was my high school's name. I remember a lot of my teachers. There's one teacher, I don't know if she's still there, but her name was Dr. Kapadia. She is incredible. So she was one of my favorite teachers, but I remember most of them. I actually visit Cathedral super often. And Samhita saying, what was my age when I got into Harvard? I was 17. Is there ragging at Harvard? Not in the same way as there is in some colleges here, but in specific clubs and things there is still ragging. Tanya saying, today's my birthday. Happy birthday, Tanya. Happy birthday. How was the Berkeley musical experience? It was incredible. I learned from such amazing teachers and professionals, and I'll make a video about that soon. And for everyone asking me to reveal my ECs, yes, it's all coming soon in a video. It's just easier to have that so it stays in posterity. And let's see, am I coming to Boston anytime soon? Hopefully at some point in 2021, but probably not in the next few years. Hi Khalid, nice to meet you. Kavya saying, how often do you upload? I try not to have a fixed schedule, but I'm trying my best to do once every other day. So every 2 days you'll see a video. And can you read chart music? Yes, I can read chart music. What your thought on high school relationships? I don't know what you mean. Do you mean like getting into a romantic relationship in high school? Let me know. I'm in 11th grade, haven't done anything yet. Am I too late? You're never too late for anything in life. No, you definitely have done stuff. You may just not identify it as things that you think are useful. Let's see. Also, yes, thank you for the person who corrected me. I am extremely tired. $60,000 is not 1 lakh. $60,000 is 40 lakhs. Yes. I was calculating the other way. Anyway, 60,000 rupees is $1,000. Thank you for correcting me. Okay. Last question. Send in your last questions and I will take it. For high school prep, I will definitely be making a video, so don't worry about it. Am I a feminist? Yes, I'm a feminist. I think anybody who believes that women should have an equal seat at the table is a feminist. Just because you're a feminist doesn't mean you hate men. It just means you believe that women also deserve a chance. Which education system is better? Honestly, I don't necessarily think any is better than the other. I have had experience for the American system, IB and ICSC. I really enjoyed ICSC for its rigor. I think there's beauty to each one. Can an Indian citizen who is studying in the US do a part-time job in the US? Yes and no. You can through something called work study, but that will be applied toward your tuition and your financial aid, basically. Your thoughts on high school romantic relationship? That is the question. That's what I thought. I think that there's a right time and right place for everything. If you feel like it is your right time, definitely do. I personally wasn't in a relationship in high school, but I would have been if I found the right person. But I wouldn't suggest doing it just for the sake of it. If it's something that's meaningful to you and isn't taking away from your life goals, then definitely. You can't say no to love, but at the same time, think about it all in the grand scheme of things, if that makes sense. Okay, last question. How to identify your passion? I love that question and I'm going to be making a video on it soon. Our Patel is saying SAT is expensive. Yes, it is, unfortunately. And so dumb, they don't give waivers to non-US citizens, which is really stupid. But you can still write to College Board if you really have a case to try to do that. Or you can try to get a waiver through your college counselor in school. How can a person, oh, this is great. How can a person without any international travel experience adjust to the lifestyle? It's definitely not easy. I had an international travel experience before, so for me it was fairly simple, but I've had friends who never did. It's not easy, but it is possible. I think with anything, with any new experience in life, it's just about taking it in stride and, you know, doing some research. So yeah. Someone's saying, can you make a my favorites video? Sure. My favorite what though? Is it just meant to be like my favorite book, movie, blah blah blah? Greek life. Harvard does have Greek life. I have these videos up called Juicy Questions About Harvard, and I answer the situation about Greek life. I do a Greek life. It's not that popular because there's something else called a final club, which is a little bit more popular. And okay, so last question. Did you attend school in India or the US? I did my early schooling in the US, so until, about 4th, 5th grade, but then I did my middle school and high school in India. So, yeah. Anyway, sending all of you lots of love. I'm seeing some questions repeat themselves, so if y'all want answers, definitely go watch this live again. I'll try to save it. But thank you all for being here. Bye, have a wonderful night, and maybe we can do this again soon and hang out. I'll try to figure out a better system because I'm so grateful for all of the accents. Not the accents, wow. I'm so grateful for all of the comments, but I want to try to answer them. But bye, thank you all for tuning in. See you soon.